Welcome back, and today we're going to look at the hole wizard, and we're going to create this block that has several holes in it using the hole wizard. So we're going to use standard, for the most part, standard sizes and such. And in engineering, there are several holes that are important. We have a drilled through hole where we go all the way through, a counterbore hole, countersunk, spot face, blind, all different types of holes used for different things, mostly to be able to fit some sort of head of a screw or a bolt within the material and have it not sticking up. So, and then we're going to make a print of that part where we're going to have SolidWorks do all these hole cutouts for us. So why do we do that? Well, in order to fit different parts and use different tools to be able to make these different types of holes. So now we're going to get to the process of actually creating this block with some holes in it. So we're going to go up to a new part, make a new part, let that come up. And again, I usually like to choose gray background, just plain white, makes it a little easier to see. Alright, well, we need something to put a hole in, so we're going to start out with a block. So I'm going to select the top plane and sketch on that plane. We're just going to do this center square, rectangle, and make a rectangle. That rectangle we're going to make 20 by 80, so 20 tall. Oops, a rectangle. Undo that. Go into Smart Dimension. And we're going to make that 20 millimeters by 80 millimeters. And again, if we run the wrong units, you can change that down here in the lower right. Okay. And we'll extrude that 10. Now that's what the default is, so we're good there. Okay. Now I have a lovely block. Now we're going to make a hole, and there's a few ways we can get the hole positioned correctly. But we're just going to make a standard hole the way we've been making it. So I'm going to open up a sketch on that plane I just made. And I like to put center lines in for my holes. It's not needed. You can dimension the location of the hole without doing that. But using my relations, I made sure I drew this line vertical. You can do that again. Is we're using the center line tool, so I drew it from the origin to the left edge, making sure I hit the center line there. You can see that the little yellow indicator indicates that it's at the center line. And then I am also going to draw a vertical line from the top to the bottom, so I get my nice the little yellow intersection indicator, indicating that I'm on that line. And then here I have the indications in yellow that I am intersecting the bottom line as well as have a vertical line. And hit escape. If I had forgotten to make this a for construction line, I can do that right here. So we have those two lines, and the horizontal line doesn't need to be dimensioned, but if I select this line and hold down the control key, and hit that left line, I can make sure I have the location of that line correctly, and it should just be 10 away. Now I want to draw a circle, which is the way we've typically been drawing holes. And the circle I want to make sure is at that intersection. And I'll show you what happens. I am purposely going to draw it off a little bit, and we can move it. But I'm going to make that a 5. Okay, my hole's not drawn in the right location, so I can just select that center dot after I get out of Smart Dimension, hit the center of my hole, and drag it around. Notice I can't drag it up and down, but I can drag it right left because it doesn't have that relation yet. But now we can see the hole does have the relations that it is at the midpoint of my vertical line, as well as coincident with that horizontal line. So that means that that hole is in fact fully defined. Okay, anytime you see this stoplight thing, that means it wants you to go up and hit the rebuild button. So we can do that. And now I'm going to make that a hole. So I'm going to use in the features ribbon, extrude cut. And since that sketch wasn't selected, I can select it now. And I'm just going to make that a through all hole. And so now the hole is through all. And since we're doing holes, I'm going to change my display style to have hidden lines. So you can see the hidden lines now that hole does in fact go all the way through. Now we're going to start work with the hole wizard. The hole wizard is in fact in the features manager, and we can get several different types of holes in our feature manager. But we're going to go back to my document here and look at the different types of holes. So the hole wizard has many different types of holes. These are a list of all of them, and we were just going to use a few of these holes so you can get have some familiarity with this, how this hole manager works. So part of the features manager will tell us the dimensions and depth of the hole, and SOLIDWORKS already has built into it many of the standard holes for the standard size fittings, like an M5 and M6 are all standard size holes. Alright, so we're not going to do that. So in the feature manager here, we want to go to our hole manager. The hole wizard is right here next to my extrude cut, and I want to pull that down. And I have several options. We can make a threaded hole. We're just going to work with the hole wizard this time though. You notice that this opens up a dialog in our feature manager. And we're going to go down here. We're going to select our counterbore hole. It's the first one. If we hover over that, you can see that does say counterbore. And we're going to do ANSI metric, because we're looking at metric. And it's going to be hex bolt. And we can use a whole bunch of bolts that SOLIDWORKS already knows about. Since our other hole was 5, we're going to make it M5, because that means that relates to the nominal diameter. And I can customize it. So an M5 has a diameter of the hole of 5.05. And I'm going to change that to just a 5.0, maybe everything else the same. So now we are non-standard with our hole, but the hole is a little smaller. So this would not fit the standard M5 bolt. It'd be a little small. But we're going to make the hole the same size as our hole. Okay, so that's just the first tab, is what type of hole we want. Now we want to go to the second tab of position. And so what it's saying here is, where do we want the hole? So I'm going to click on the top part of my block, just as I would if I was opening a sketch. You see I have this yellow image of where my hole is. I'm just going to put all these holes in a line. And so I'm going to select somewhere in the middle there. And I can put lots of these holes in. But now you see it turned over to the sketch ribbon. I want to dimension where that hole is. So I'm going to hit the smart dimension, select the center of my hole, hold down Control, and hit the edge of the block. And now you see we have dimensions between that center of our hole and the edge. I want to dimension that at, I believe, 25. Yeah, 25. Hit Enter. So that moves the hole into position nicely. Let's hit check once for closing the smart dimension and hit it again for making the hole. So again, if I rotate it, I can see that I do have a hole. Looks like the hole ended up a little shallow for some reason, so we'll go fix that. And we can specify the depth of our hole over here. So that is down here. So it only went 5 millimeters total. So I can change it from blind to through all. Or we could make it blind. Let me go a little deeper though. Let me see how that did. So you can play with that and see how it does. Didn't like that whole depth though. We'll just use it all. Okay, so now if I rotate the part, you can see that that did in fact go part way through. And we can even do our sectional view. Not that direction though. With a plane. And you can see that the holes go part way through. Okay, now we want to do the next hole type, which is going to be our countersunk hole. And we're going to put the countersunk hole right in the middle. So again, go for hole wizard, hit hole wizard. So now we're going to specify the countersunk hole. Since I changed it, it wants to know if I want to keep those changes, and I'm going to say no, I want to have the presets in there. So again, you can see that the hole wizard looks the same, but now we're going to select the countersunk hole right here in the top middle of that row. And again, here's my custom sizing. I can adjust if it's through all or blind. I can adjust if it's anything in here. And I can also adjust the degree, the angle for my countersunk hole. I am not going to do any adjustments on this one. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Then I need to position it. So again, I want to click on this top face. So I indicate that that is the face I want to do that. Put my hole in. And so I'm going to center it right on the origin. I don't need to dimension that since it already has the relation that it's at that origin. So hit check mark again. And we can see that now we have our countersunk hole. Here's rotate. Alright, so now we can see this hole looks like it's got a chamfer at the top. Okay, so counter bore and countersink. Now we're going to do another type of counter bore hole, which is called a spot face hole, which just has a small countersink, really a small bore, just a little bit down. And again, I'm going to start with my hole wizard. So the hole wizard, go back to the counter bore hole, and now I want to change the depth of it. I'm going to leave everything else the same. Custom sizing again. Again, I'm going to change this to 5. And I'm going to change the depth of my countersinking, or the counter boring to just 1 millimeter. And again, I want to position it. So again, I want to click that top face, and we'll see that we have our yellow image of our hole. And again, I want to position the location of that hole, again, 25 from the edge. So we'll go back into Smart Dimension, hit the center, hold down Control, and hit the edge. And I'm going to dimension that at 25. Lovely. Hit check for the Smart Dimension, hit check for making my hole. And now if we rotate the part, you can see that it is a lot shallower. And then it looks like we have room for one more hole. So we are going to create a blind hole, or a dowel hole. So we're going to do hole wizard again. Select the top of our part again as the face we're going to do that on. It looks like it took a minute. Nothing. Hole wizard. Select my top face. I'm going to do a blind hole. Again, I'm going to reset to the default. Asymmetric, you have several different types of holes. We'll just leave it as a dowel hole. And again, we want our diameter to be 5, like the other one. And we can specify the depth. We can do through all, or we can do a blind hole. So we'll do a blind hole. We can pick a number, 5, 8, how far down it goes. Then you can play with this. It's just to measure how it measures that vertical dimension. That looks good. Again, we need to position it. So we're going to go over to the position tab, select that top, and put it in there. And smart dimension that again. Select it in the center, holding down the control key, selecting the edge, and that we're going to make 12.5, halfway in between, and that looks lovely. And check once to close smart dimension, check once again to create that hole. And we can again rotate the view to see that we have a hole. You can see that it has that point in the end, which would indicate that it was drilled, so that's the tip of our drill bit that you can see there. We also saw that when we did the counterbore hole, but this one's not going all the way through, so you'll see that tip for our bit being shown if we get it horizontal. Okay, now we want to go over what this looks like in a print. So save this. You call it whatever we want. I'm just going to call it full block. Alright, that is lovely. So now we're going to open a print. So new, make a drawing. We're going to put ANSCII A paper. We don't need huge paper. And go to our drawing tool, model view, and we're going to insert that model we just made. I made it before, so I'm going to select the one I just made, this whole block. Okay. We could open up another file. So once that's selected, I hit the right button. And you notice that there's not much going on here. This is side view. We certainly could add that. But I want certainly my top view to be added. I don't really need the side view because there's not much going on there. Okay. So then I click somewhere in the drawing area. I should insert that view. But it's a little small, so I want to change the scale to make it bigger. So I'm going to go down here and to the lower right and hit 2 to 1. And that basically means it's double sized on the piece of paper. Okay, now I'm going to go to annotation, and we can certainly take our view and hit model items and make sure we have our dimensions here selected. And we hit yes, and we get a whole bunch of views. So this is what we would have used to model our holes. And we have all of our hole locations, which we'll keep, so we can arrange those so they look all nicer. But we want to do the call out on the holes. So we're going to specifically use that feature in this whole call out. So we'll start out with so we'll select whole call out, and we'll start out with the hole that we made normally. So 5mm diameter through is really the more right way to do a hole. So I'm going to put that one in there and delete the automatic measurement. I'm going to do that full call out on all these holes. As we go through, so you can see how to label all these holes correctly. Okay, that's the last one. So we just want them spaced out. And so you'll notice how it is standard to dimension all these holes. We start out with the overall diameter of the hole, and then note the diameter, say the counter bore or the angle of the countersink to be able to manufacture all these holes correctly. So I'm going to close out a smart dimension then, and everything looks good. We'll save this, and we'll be done.